Hi guys, it's Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and I said in my review of Daredevil Born Again episodes 1 and 2 that I will make a Heather Glenn video and talk to you all about her life and what she's done in the comics, and what you can kind of expect from her. Probably not though, but still, it's cool to learn. We're all about learning here. So, she's pretty notable character in Daredevil's life since the 70s, really. Her first comic appearance was Daredevil number 126 in 1975. So clearly, we're starting from the beginning, as I tend to do with my character breakdowns. Heather Glenn was born into a life of wealth and luxury in the vibrant city of New York. Coming from an affluent family, her early years were shaped by the sophistication and comforts that came with her privileged background. Her father, Maxwell Glenn, was the CEO of renowned Glenn Industries, a major player in the corporate world. Growing up surrounded by opulence, Heather reaped the benefits of her family's prosperity and social prominence. She was privileged, very privileged. She lived a good life. That's really it. The Glenn name was synonymous with success, and their upscale residence in New York City reflected their elevated status, raised in a world where every need was fulfilled. So, privileged. Not that it's a bad thing. I mean, you're born into it, but it's like, it's cool to see a character born from that, though, because you don't see that very often. You kind of see, oh, they came from nothing. Oh, they were an orphan. Oh, they had such a bad life. Now they're a hero. But Heather's like, I've always been pretty rich. It's cool. But back to Heather. Heather, who had been dating a man named Frankie, found herself with a spare key to his apartment, unaware of his sudden disappearance. When she discovered Matt Murdock in Frankie's apartment, she was charmed by his appearance and gave him a kiss on the cheek before saying goodbye. Little hussy. Later, back at home, Heather spent time watching TV until Matt arrived. Despite his reluctance, Heather expressed her feelings and promised to support him when he returned. She continued to flirt with Matt, even accompanying him to District Attorney Foggy Nelson's office. Matt, torn between annoyance and growing affection, rushed off to an appointment, leaving Heather behind. After a stressful day, Heather comforted Matt, and together they watched a news report full of inaccuracies. Concerned about the state of the country, Heather questioned the credibility of the news. Which is fair. I think we're all doing that. Heather played a key role in helping establish Storefront Nelson and Murdoch, the firm where Matt provided legal aid to the less fortunate. While there, she felt a pang of jealousy when Candace Nelson kissed Matt, which is Foggy's sister, which led to a rising tension between her and Matt. Heather later brought donuts to the storefront, expressed her distress upon learning that her father's company owned a building involving a legal dispute. Doubting her father's integrity, she began to question the foundation of their relationship. At the storefront, Heather grew anxious over Matt's extended absence and the possibility that her father might be involved in criminal activities. Frustrated, she confided to Foggy Nelson, stressing how important Matt was to her. Matt, struggling with his growing feelings for Heather, began avoiding her, because that's what you do, I guess. Heather was taken aback when she heard about Daredevil allegedly unaliving 3 policemen, and she found comfort in supporting Matt. Their bond deepened. It culminated in a passionate thing, and then they finally shared a passionate kiss. As Matt grappled with false news reports, Heather continued to stand by him. Later at the storefront, she asked about the investigation into her father's alleged crimes. Confused by the ongoing misinformation, she confronted Matt about his investigation into her father, but Matt, keeping the truth to himself, reassured her that he was looking into it. Frustrated by Matt's distraction and secrecy, Heather confronted him about his behavior, even though Matt was reluctant to share the details. Heather remained by his side as they dealt with the media attacks orchestrated by the Jester. Heather was presented when the Jester's identity was revealed and standing with Matt and Foggy as they learned about Karen Page's kidnapping. Because like I've said in like 4 videos I've posted, that's what Karen does. She gets kidnapped all the time. Later, she received news of an attempt on Foggy's life, but was reassured that he was unharmed. Nervous and emotional, Heather met Matt at the airport where he revealed the shocking news about Foggy. Despite the challenges, they shared brunch and parted ways. While walking through New York, Heather and Matt witnessed Iron Fist swing overhead. Heather's life took a tumultuous turn when Maxwell became a suspect in embezzlement. Maxwell being her father. Daredevil delved into the investigation of Debbie Harris's kidnapping, uncovering the potential ties to Glenn Industries. Matt informed Heather of the Daredevil's findings and revealing that the involvement of Stone, Maxwell Glenn's assistant, in the criminal activities. Heather, relieved to know the truth, pondered the implications for her father. Subsequently, it was revealed that the true culprit was Maxwell's assistant, Mr. Stone, providing Heather with so much relief. Amidst the chaos at the storefront, Heather assisted Matt in managing the busy legal clinic. The emergence of a gang war and Matt's confrontation with the Owls gang added to the stress of the situation. Heather, alongside Foggy, met with client Mr. Santiago at the storefront. Matt's arrival coincided with the confrontation between Daredevil and the villainous Boris and Ninochka. Matt, injured and vulnerable, sought refuge at the storefront where Heather, deeply concerned, pleaded with him not to go alone. Despite her plea, Daredevil ventured out, facing the threat of Bullseye, that freaking guy. Accompanying Foggy to the police station, Heather discovered her father, Maxwell Glenn, turning himself in for crimes that she couldn't even fathom. In tears, Heather left a note for Foggy to tell Matt, expressing her decision to quit and bidding farewell forever. Confronted by Matt, which I guess wasn't forever, Heather reluctantly allowed him into her apartment, demanding an explanation for his actions. Matt, believing Maxwell was innocent but unable to defend him in court, faced Heather's anger and frustration. Heather visited her father in jail, attempting to cheer up her dad, like he's going through it, but he remained distant and silent. Desperate for the connection, Heather pleaded with her father, who insisted on his guilt. Unaware of Matt's presence, Heather left in tears, setting in motion a tragic turn of events. Heather, unaware of the circumstances, encountered Daredevil, learning the truth about her father's innocence and subsequent suicide. Filled with shock and pain, she declared her hatred for Matt and demanded his departure. Eventually, Heather discovered her father was being controlled by the Purple Man, who we all know and love, leading to her father's suicide in prison and the revelation that Matt was Daredevil. Angered by the truth, she ended her relationship with Matt. That's something that always kills me. Why are you so mad he's Daredevil? Because he didn't tell you? That's a secret identity. That's heroing 101. He's not going to tell you. And if he does, don't get mad. He's opening to his feelings are valid. In his will, Maxwell gave Heather his company, along with the portion of his stocks, bonds, and business patents. So she is stupidly rich. Again. Controlled by the Purple Man, Heather missed her father's funeral. Later, she urgently contacted Matt seeking assistance. Heather was coerced into holding a gun to her own head, while Daredevil was forced to battle various adversaries. A lot. Paladin intervened, aiding Daredevil in defeating the villains. Despite the Purple Man's orders for Heather to, shoot herself, Daredevil managed to disarm her in the nick of time. Following the Purple Man's defeat, a distraught Heather sought solace in Daredevil's embrace, unwilling to engage in conversation, only desiring to be taken home. Matt visited Heather, attempting to kiss her, but she rejected him. While she intellectually understood that Matt wasn't responsible for Maxwell's death, her heart struggled to trust him. She confronted Matt about his supposed blindness and use of a cane, revealing that she learned the truth about him. Later, during a date at the storefront, Heather encountered Black Widow, which led to a confrontation with the Ant-Man that resulted in Black Widow and Foggy both getting injured. Traumatized by the attack, Heather, along with a terrified group, faced great danger. Matt ultimately surrendered to the villains, and when Black Widow considered going after them, Heather subtly implied that Matt could handle himself, instead focusing on Foggy's well-being. When Matt returned, Heather did check on him. With Foggy, Debbie, and Becky observing from a distance, Heather was taken by Matt to her father's grave in the rain, hoping to force her to confront the reality of his death. Heartbroken, Heather questioned Matt's ability to prioritize her over his role as Daredevil. When he couldn't give her the assurance that she needed, she slapped him, walked away in the rain. It was super, super dramatic. Heather ended her relationship with Matt and started dating disco dancer Rico. At Blake Tower's re-election party, Heather made a point of showing off her new relationship in an effort to make Matt jealous. Later, while witnessing Daredevil's fight with the Hulk, she accidentally called out Matt, unaware that the reporter, Ben Urich, was right there within earshot. And that's like the one person you don't want to know, because that's the reporter. He's the guy. Heather took control of Glenn Industries, assuming the role of chairman on the board. Alongside board members Mr. Tubbs and JB, she worked tirelessly to save the company, which was on the brink of bankruptcy. During a meeting with Glenn Industries, Heather confronted Mr. Tubbs and uncovered a questionable deal involving the sale of their New Jersey electronics plant. Faced with Daredevil's accusations, Heather, overwhelmed with grief, dismissed him and sought solace in Mr. Tubbs' embrace. Acting on Matt's advice, Heather investigated the company's holdings and planned a date with Rico. As she reviewed company documents, she discovered the criminal nature of Jersey plant sale. Before she could act, Dr. Octopus appeared, kidnapping her and using adamantium to enhance his tentacles. Breaking free with a shard of glass, Heather struck Dr. Octopus just as Daredevil intervened. Afterwards, she begged Matt to stay, leading to a kiss that reignited their feelings. When Heather ran into Matt at home, she reminded him to prepare for Foggy's wedding, while he confessed his love. Later, she attended the wedding with Matt. Heather also accompanied Matt to an extravagant party hosted by Edwin Cord. During an attack by Mauler, Mauler. I never know if I should say the word or spell it. I never know. She helped Matt transform into Daredevil and encouraged him to involve Lieutenant Nick Manolis in the investigation. At the storefront's party with Foggy and Becky, Heather jokingly dismissed Matt's absence by suggesting he led a secret life, even humorously proposing he was a lion tamer. She left a romantic statue at Matt's apartment, then slept in his bed, startled by a brief intrusion, which she presumed was by Elektra. On a date with Matt, Heather flirted and asked about his recent cases, particularly the Kingpin and Vanessa Fisk. When she heard that Matt had been hospitalized after an explosion, Heather rushed to check on him, was reassured by Dr. Gloss about his recovery. She expressed concern, tended to Matt, and as he struggled with the loss of his radar sense. I think we did see that season 2 of Netflix Daredevil, where there was an explosion and he did lose those senses for a little brief period of time. Frustrated by Matt's continual neglect, Heather initiated several breakups, only to reconcile each time. That's the thing about Matt Murdock, is if they break up, they're getting back together. This man don't know how to quit. Her final breakup note, which stated her intention to attend a party without him, marked the end of their relationship for good. However, Heather surprised Matt at the courthouse after Foggy's gladiator case victory. Later, she urged Matt to abandon his Daredevil persona for the opera, but when she witnessed his reckless rooftop leap, she was very, very worried. Distraught by Matt's search for Stick and his loss of powers, Heather, torn between ending their relationship or assisting him, chose to help. Together, they navigated the dangerous side of town, locating Stick, and overcame the threats. Growing impatient with Matt's prolonged absence, Heather invited Rico to a club. She eventually left when Rico insulted Matt behind his back. Delighted to attend the ballet with Matt, Heather enjoyed a high society experience. So she ditched Rico, and then Matt was like, hey. So Yeah, they just can't quit each other, man. However, the evening took an unexpected turn when a brawl broke out between Daredevil, Power Man, Iron Fist, and their adversaries Boris and Ninochka. I don't know. With Debbie and Foggy, Heather arranged a hospital visit with a reluctant Matt dressed as Santa Claus. Meanwhile, Matt remained stoic in the corner, seeking more direction in life. Heather enrolled in business classes and grew more involved in Glen Industries. During the board meeting at Glen Industries, Heather clashed with Mr. Spindle, demanding Matt review certain documents. This led to a tense confrontation with Matt, leaving Heather frustrated as per usual. Heather confided in Matt about her struggles at the board, which led to a strained conversation about their relationship. When Matt proposed marriage, Heather hesitated, expressing discomfort with traditional roles, discontent with Matt's proposal, and the expectations of a domestic life. Heather was presumed by Spindle to sign multiple documents. She questioned a document related to Atreus Plastics, but Spindle dismissed her concerns and instructed her to keep signing, which that's a pretty telltale sign something bad's happening. Feeling frustrated, she called Matt to discuss their relationship, but was put on hold as he took another call. She left without further discussion. When she returned to Glen Industries, Heather was discovered the unsettling truth behind Atreus Plastics deal, which involved the production of plastic explosions. So she didn't really have anyone to confide into, so Heather confided into Foggy about the troubles of her company, hoping to keep Matt in the dark. However, Matt continued to pressure her to step down during a confrontation. With Foggy's guidance, they confronted Spindle, who deflected blame onto Heather, implying her complicity. Foggy sent Heather home, assuring her he would handle the situation, because Foggy's just a good guy. After opting for a new blonde look, Heather faced Matt's legal attack on Glen Industries, which led to a criminal investigation. Matt hoped she would leave the company in favor of marriage. Heather directly challenged the board, and Spindle arrogantly questioning her competence, which that's just what they do, I guess. Daredevil intervened, promising her safety but predicting the company's collapse. During dinner with Foggy, Heather expressed her concerns about Matt's motives and the criminal charges, reluctantly accepting his proposal after Glen Industries faced serious allegations. Alone in her apartment, Heather, burdened by Matt's manipulations, sought solace in alcohol, lamenting the circumstances that led her to consider marrying him. Inebriated, Heather stumbled upon Matt's apartment after a fight, discovering him with Black Widow. Following Matt's orders, she professed her love when he asserted control. Later, found a note supposedly from Matt expressing his rejection. She collapsed in tears, unaware of the ruse orchestrated by Black Widow and Foggy. 6 weeks later, Heather, now with black hair, she was going through a thing, and while drunk, confided in Tony Stark after meeting him at a party. Their date was interesting, mainly because of Tony's intoxication, leading to an awkward breakfast. Subsequently, at a party, Heather was enticed by Tarkington Brown, with their interaction revealing Matt's secret identity as Daredevil. In a drunken confession to Matt, she inadvertently put his life in danger, ultimately escaping an assassination attempt that was orchestrated by Tarkington Brown. Heather embarked on a series of dates and embraced regular drinking as a coping mechanism. Inebriated in her apartment, Heather called Matt, urging him to come over in his Daredevil persona under the pretense of an emergency. Matt arrived to find her asleep. Upon waking, she confessed that she was lonely and she was seeing other guys. Angered and repulsed, Daredevil left her alone. Despite Heather's repeated calls to Matt, warning of her impending demise, he only answered once and hung up. Left messages with Becky Blake. She sent a suicide note to Foggy's old address before hanging herself. Discovering Heather's lifeless body, Foggy and Matt were confronted with a note expressing apologies to Foggy and the world. Foggy reassured Matt that Heather's actions weren't his fault, emphasizing the imbalance in their love for each other. Matt visited Heather's grave after recovering stolen patents. He shared the news of his victory with her grave. Wrestling with guilt, Matt returned to Heather's grave, finding himself in a battle with the vulture who sought to plunder her resting place. So that's where her story ends. But I mean, she has a lot there. But I don't think like any of that's going to happen in Daredevil Born Again. But it's cool to know all this stuff. She's an interesting character, and it shows that all of Daredevil's love interest, his little lovers, I guess, end tragically. And there's a common denominator there, but I'm not going to say it. But yeah, she's in Daredevil Born Again. I'm excited to see what they do. I think we're going to get some hints at all this, but like Glenn Industries and all that. But I think that's it. So yeah, that is another character breakdown by me, Megan from Vigilante Vibes. Let me know if there's any other characters that I should look into, because I actually really like doing this. Like, I learn a lot in the process. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you excited to see where Heather's character in Daredevil Born Again goes? And if you feel it in your heart to like and share this video, you're doing the hero's work, and I appreciate you. So don't forget to subscribe. Have a marvelous day.